This is the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show with your hosts Maurice, Patton, and Wade Neely. Proudly presented each week by our friends at the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans, don't let fans drive drunk.
Welcome into the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show for week 9. We took last week off because wasn't a whole lot going on, really. But I'm Maurice, Patton. That's Wade Neely. We will make up for not a whole lot going on because we got a full slate of games this weekend, and excited to talk about them, as well as the couple of results that we had in week 8 and the ones that we had in week 7. We'll get you all caught up.
Yeah.
If you've been depending on us for your high school football fix, you will be fixed by the end of this show.
Yeah, you've come to the right place, and we will definitely get you caught up and bring you up to speed on what you need to know for this week, as well as majority of schools resume play.
Yeah. Again, fall break, because it's such a foreign concept. Did you have fall break when you were in school?
I think we had a fall break, but it wasn't to this extent. Which, don't get me started on fall break, because I have a theory that fall break now is really an excuse for the parents more than anything. I see more pictures on social parents going to the beach and having more fun than their own kids. I don't really see any pictures of the kids having fun on fall break. Not for football players, though. There's a lot of kids that don't get that luxury. They have to hang back and practice, whether they got a game or not, especially at Giles County. But, yeah, I don't know that we had this big, to-do about fall break back in the day.
I mean, and then they get a week for Thanksgiving in a lot of instances, don't they? Don't they get that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday out?
Yeah.
See, we didn't get that.
Yeah, these
might get
kids
the wins
these days,
kids these days, man.
Don't know how good they got it.
Well, but the thing is, they're not making the rules.
Like I said, we got parents and administrators that are they're enjoying the holiday. It's deserved for those administrators and staff members. But it's a big deal, and coming in or out of fall break, as we'll get into in the course of the show today, can be a good thing for some teams, can be a bad thing for some teams.
And I don't guess we can really complain, because we did take a little time off as well.
Enjoyed the recharge of the batteries, kind of to get for the second half of the season. We got a lot of teams right in the thick of playoff discussion. And in a way, even though we've gone past the midway mark of the regular season, we're kind of almost just now at the halfway mark of what's to come for the rest of the whole football season.
Yeah. So, like you said, we got some postseason prospects for some of our area teams, and some of these games coming up will have a lot to say about said prospects. So we will be getting into that here in just a bit. First, though, we will review our games from the last couple of weekends. So let's do that when we return to the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show, presented by 10 Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party, and by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans, don't let fans drive drunk. Stick around when we come back.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services, from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
He shoots. Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia. But now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
Welcome back into the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Let's take a look at the results from week 7 of the area high school football schedule. And we had some Thursday night games back in week 7, a couple of them, both involving South Williamson County schools, who split those 2 Thursday night games as Independence went on the road and picked up a huge 37-0 victory against Overton in Region 6-6A action. Big night for their sophomore quarterback, Matthew Horner, who rushed for 110 yards and a touchdown, and the offense looked really rejuvenated in that win. Again, Independence had lost 6 straight to open the season against, as we have mentioned on numerous occasions on this show, a meat grinder of a schedule.
Yep, good to see Independence get the win. We thought they would play well. I was not anticipating them playing this well. 37-0, great win versus Overton, and hopefully a sign of brighter futures here for Independence.
Absolutely. On the other hand, Summit, which opened the season with a win against Spring Hill, has not won since, and that continued on that Thursday night as the Spartans fell 45-0 to an undefeated Ravenwood team, also in Region 6-6A action. And you know, injuries have really taken a toll on this Summit team, and you just would not expect, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, for them to have been as ineffective as they've been to this point.
Yeah, and, you know, there's no shame in taking an L to Ravenwood, but you would hope you could maybe take a little positive, certainly some points out of that if you're Summit. Like you said, they've just been through a meat grinder of a schedule. Unfortunately, it's not going to get that much easier, but at least you can take a little pride in knowing that you are not the only team in the state that's caught a bad loss to Ravenwood.
No, not at all. Not at all. On Friday, speaking of shutouts, Columbia Academy 33, Clarksville Academy nothing. The Bulldogs just continue to rack up the momentum, picking up their second Division 2A Middle Region victory in shutout fashion on the road against the other CA.
Yeah, Columbia Academy going back a couple of weeks. This was the game that in the last show we did, we previewed it. We said, man, they are rolling. They got Baldwin going, and they kind of have a lot of pieces in their favor. Clarksville Academy still trying to build. Not necessarily a surprising result looking back on that one.
No, neither was this one. Columbia Central 21, Spring Hill nothing. Central getting a defensive touchdown on a pick six from Autry Smith in that one, and just kind of workmanlike on offense. They've not really overwhelmed you on offense all year, but that defense has really been at times dominant, and Spring Hill has been inexperienced up front on both sides of the ball, but particularly on offense. And so those two things just kind of played into Columbia Central's favor in that one.
Yeah, and to your point, you can't win if you can't score. And so Columbia Central, all they need is 2 points on a night like that. Their defense kind of set the tone. Sure, you would like some more offense. You'd like a little more sizzle there. But you'll live with a workmanlike performance, which has kind of been the identity of this Lions team all year.
Absolutely. Mount Pleasant went on the road in non-region action after dropping a tough region game to Lewis County the week before and struggled all night in a 44-6 loss up at Donaldson Christian. In fact, this one was 44-0 before Mount Pleasant finally got on the board late. It's been a dry spell offensively for Mount Pleasant on the offensive side of the ball for the last few weeks.
Yeah, and on the other side, kind of like Columbia Central, they've been surviving thanks to their defense. But when you run up against a really potent offense, you can't necessarily bank. You're going to have to get a little more than 6 points. So those offensive woes kind of rear their ugly head in dramatic fashion here. Tough one to drop right before you go into your fall break, as you do lose to a great team. You certainly would have liked a better result, win or lose, than what you got, though, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Giles County in Region 4-3A play doubles up Watertown 42-21 to go into fall break.
Yeah, ugly game, as weird as it sounds. Giles was up 28-0. I was listening to this one out of town that Friday, and Chris Bledsoe and the crew, it was 28-0. Giles County needs to score one more time in the second half to get the running clock going, but a young Watertown team found some offense, especially through the passing game, and kind of made it a little closer. It never really was in doubt, but kind of an ugly win, all things considered. But Giles County does get the dub, as you said, doubling up the Purple Tigers.
East Hickman has kind of been the surprise of the year in Region 5-2A, and they continue to do so, 43-40 over Loretto back in Week 7.
Yeah, I thought Loretto would be prepared for this game and maybe win this game, picked them to win. That wasn't necessarily utter faith in Loretto. I've just been kind of skeptical of East Hickman, but I got to give them their props. That was a crazy game, a lot of points. We've seen Loretto play some shootouts already this year, and unfortunately, this time the shootout doesn't go their way. Kudos to East Hickman.
Absolutely. I think this is the game that has kind of made me a believer in the Eagles, like you said. I mean, because we've talked about Loretto and how mentally tough this team is, and a little surprised at that outcome. Not surprised at Richland 41, Collinwood nothing, because again, that was the last show that we did, and we talked about how we just did not think Collinwood defensively was prepared to defend the whole field the way you have to nowadays against the Raiders.
Yeah, Richland had everybody on display. Blaine Woodard had a good night passing, but you also saw good rushing performances from Luke Eastlick and Nash Petty. So those Richland Raiders offensively were rolling. Big win versus Collinwood.
Finally, in Week 7, Summertown takes advantage of a team that is in the position they were in last year, basically. 35-0 over Waverly. The Eagles continuing to roll.
Yeah, good win there for Summertown. Taking care of Waverly, who is taking some lumps this year. But you got to go out. You got to take care of business, and props to Summertown for doing that. Other quick bonus score, though, Lawrence County was in action versus Tullahoma that week as well. And I only bring that one up because they lost Tullahoma. We mentioned the City Cats and the County Cats.
That's right.
It was the City Cats winning that one, and that one will be key in terms of that loaded region. More on them to come. There's a lot of teams that are vying for playoff spots down the stretch there.
Absolutely. Yeah, we needed to get that one in. Good catch.
That was a long time ago, but that was one, again, that Lawrence County, you may look at back at the end of the season and say, man, we wish we'd have had that one back, especially at home.
In Week 8, Nashville Christian came to Columbia Academy. That was a game that was shown on WUXP as part of their Friday Night Rivals series, and Jared Curtis put on a show for the visiting Eagles, the Georgia commit at quarterback for Nashville Christian. 439 offensive yards, 5 total touchdowns as the Eagles win that one 45-7 in D2A Middle Region action.
Man, was keeping up with your coverage over the course of the Friday or that night, and Nashville Christian just seems like they had a lot more explosivity than Columbia Academy did and set the tone. That's one that Columbia Academy, obviously you're disappointed that you lost, but hopefully you can take something from that and maybe stash it for the postseason.
Yeah, not a great one to go into your idle date with, but you feel like Columbia Academy will grow from that.
Hopefully.
You hope Spring Hill will grow from their 54-7 loss to Shelbyville. They played that game over at Battle Creek because work has begun on installing artificial turf at Buford Gladney Stadium. So the Raiders have been temporarily evicted from their home.
Yeah, tough one. You knew it was going to be a gargantuan effort to knock off Shelbyville, who's kind of been one of the big dogs in that region, as it were. Again, kind of like a couple of games we've mentioned this week, especially Ravenwood and Summit. You're hoping to get a little more out of that, even in a losing effort, but a tough one there goes in favor of Shelbyville.
No question. And Giles County suddenly getting on a roll. It feels like, I don't want to say that the schedule has turned necessarily for the Bobcats, but a young team seems to have kind of grown up in front of our eyes. The Bobcats with a 49-8 win over Grundy County that, while Watertown kind of hung around, this one was never really in doubt.
Yeah, Giles County took control. Grundy County did lead, odd as it sounds, but they led 8-6, burned Giles County early on a busted play. But after that, yeah, it was blouses because Giles County took care of business. Caleb Oates, who's been their masher on the ground, they got to rest him. They got to, take the bus and put it in the garage a little bit. He only had 11 carries. He'd been averaging close to 30 a night coming into this game, so they rested him. Xavier Randolph had career night in terms of passing yards, completions, and touchdowns. Good win for Giles County, good confidence builder, as they do have a couple of big games coming down at the end of the regular season.
Game blouses.
I mean, they took care of business, and it was a busted play. Grundy County scores, but they did lead, and GCHS rallied back. Running clock, and they also reduced it to 8 minutes in the second half for quarters, so they got out of there with a quickness.
Well, it's a long way from Pulaski to Grundy County.
I mean, they did everything they could. The first quarter took 50 minutes. I don't know that we played 50 minutes the next three quarters because Giles County took care of business. Shout out to Kareem Bryan, who had a big night receiving. We'll talk about him a little bit later in our leaders, but he had a big night. GCHS, like you said, kind of rounding into form as they get ready to close here with three tough ones.
Absolutely. That is our review from week 7 and week 8. When we come back, we'll get you up to date with our stat leaders and get you ready for week 9. So stay tuned as we continue here on the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show, presented by 10 Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party, and by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia. But now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue.
Welcome back into the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show for Week 9. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Before we get into our Week 9 schedule, let's take a look at our individual offensive leaders across the area. Let's start with rushing, where Monte Baldwin is our lone 1,000-yard rusher at the moment. He probably could have had some company if Giles County had wanted to, it sounds like.
Could have been. They parked Caleb Oates in the garage pretty quickly in that one.
You know, sometimes that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, with the schedule that the Bobcats have coming up, that was probably a good call on their part to, you know, kind of get him off his feet a little bit. But Nicholas McDowell, 820 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns for Loretto, and the Lawrence County duo of Carter Pettigrew and Ian Clayton. If it was only one of them, they'd be over 1,000.
Yeah.
But each of them upwards of 500 yards through 7 games, and they like that double-barreled situation in the backfield there for the Wildcats. So you can see the rest of the leaders coming out of week number 8. Passing leaders. I just continue to marvel at the transformation of the Richland offense. The Raiders were off this past weekend, but they played Collinwood the week before, and Blaine Woodard, you know, just continuing to put up numbers, 1,300 passing yards plus 11 touchdowns, 2 picks. And that's as impressive to me as the yardage. I mean, the way he's been able to take care of the ball for a guy who has not traditionally thrown it a whole lot.
Yeah, they asked him to be the starting quarterback, and they not only did that, they asked him to sling it around at times this year, and he's done a great job. That may be the most important stat, like you just said. Forget the stats, forget the completion percentage. The fact he's only turned it over twice has been clutch for Richland, and then everything else has been a very, very welcome bonus.
Well, and it's been clutch, particularly when you play for a coach like Nick Patterson, who traditionally has been 3 things can happen when you throw the ball and 2 of them are bad, you know? So, yeah, kudos to Blaine for thriving under Mr. 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
And, you know, the other crazy thing is he hasn't been gun shy from the day one, but now he's gone above and beyond. If there were any doubts about his confidence throwing the ball, those have been long silenced, because he's now growing and growing in confidence. And whether Richland continues to throw or not, they got a confident gunslinger back there in Woodard.
Absolutely. Big night for Xavier Randolph, like you said, against Grundy this past weekend. And, you know, speaking of confidence, that's a sophomore quarterback there in an offense that traditionally has thrown the ball a lot, maybe not as much this time around, but maybe as David O'Connor and the Bobcat coaching staff see him throw it around, maybe they can kind of turn him loose a little bit more.
I think so. He's kind of turned a corner throwing the ball. Didn't face nearly as drastic of a pass rush as he did in the loss to Lincoln County the previous game out. So he bounced back nicely with that performance. Career high 4 touchdowns. He only had 3 touchdowns thrown coming into the game, so he played very well in the win.
Yeah, Spring Hill quarterback Cordell Isaac, a junior, somebody that the Raiders can kind of build around. 1,000-yard passer, 13 touchdowns. And Spring Hill has obviously had their struggles over the course of the season, but, you know, Isaac, a first-year starter, has not necessarily been among them.
Yeah, like you said, a chance to build. When you're at this point in the season, if you're Spring Hill, you're looking for confidence boosters and you're looking for building blocks. And the fact you've got somebody that can, you know, be more than a serviceable quarterback option is a good thing.
It's a quarterback-driven sport.
Man, yes.
And when you've got one, you want to try to take advantage of it. That's the full list of the passing leaders. We will transition to receiving, where, again, Jake Sands, despite Richland being off this past weekend, tops the list. 627 receiving yards, has only found the end zone twice. I feel like that's going to balance out at some point.
You would think they've lost Aylin Kennedy for the rest of the year due to injury, so those numbers probably going to have to increase in terms of production there. But yeah, get my man some more red zone targets for Mr. Sands.
Well, it sounds like they're scoring a lot from outside the red zone, though, too.
That's a good point. And there have been a couple plays where he gets it down to the 5 on a big catch, and just quite doesn't get in the end zone. Then they pound it in on the ground. So yeah, let's bump those TD numbers up. But he's having a great year.
Absolutely. You talked about Kareem Bryant, big night against Grundy County in a short period of time as well. He was the recipient of a bunch of those Xavier Randolph passes in that 300-yard night.
He had a big night, and he is the most explosive player that Giles County has. He also had a rushing touchdown in that game. And it's almost like Giles County finally unleashed him for the first time all season. Him building that confidence and that rapport with Randolph will be clutch going down the stretch.
And I wasn't really familiar with him as a football player. I knew him as a basketball player.
Had an up-and-down career, spent a season away with the team, had some playing time as a freshman. And from day one, he's got the build, he's got the mojo. He had a good year last year, but Giles County had so many options, with their offense. This is his now senior season and his chance to thrive. And like I said, they're kind of slowly getting him more involved. They're getting creative, if nothing else, with ways to get the ball in his hands.
Harrison Brownlee of Columbia Academy, Jackson Westbell of Spring Hill, 8 touchdowns each, averaging a touchdown a game. That's pretty efficient. Man,
yeah. Talk about some eye-popping numbers. We've talked about how explosive they can be, and the fact you've got that efficiency to go along with it is very impressive.
Absolutely. Those are our stat leaders heading into Week 9's play. Let's get you our Week 9 matchups, and we will start in Region 5-2A, where the two teams topping the region standings go at it, as East Hickman will step on the turf at Memorial Stadium on the campus of Mount Pleasant. The Eagles 6-1 overall, 4-0 in region play. Mount Pleasant 5-2, 3-1. The Tigers coming out of fall break this week on a 2-game skid, again having lost to Lewis County 2 weeks ago, and 3 weeks ago. There we go. And at Donaldson Christian 2 weeks ago. Again, they were on fall break this past week. So, interesting matchup, because East Hickman has shown that they can put some points up. Mount Pleasant had really hung their hat on their defense, but the 44-6 loss up at Donaldson Christian kind of gives a little question to that.
Yeah, this is one of the games that I for sure have circled to keep tabs on this week, because the questions now for me are about Mount Pleasant and their psyche really going forward. You've been absolutely rolling, getting by. You could kind of see that they had some issues, but they were getting by and getting wins. Now that you've ran into resistance, a couple losses in a row, how do you respond to that? And East Hickman, man, they continue to impress, and they have just one loss on the year. It's a home loss to Houston County. Otherwise, we'll be talking about the Eagles being undefeated. I think this will be a big, big showdown to kick things off on Friday.
Huge. In Region 5-5A action, Columbia Central looks to defend its home turf against visiting winless Franklin County. The Rebels coming in 0-7 overall, 0-3 in region play. Central 4-3, 2-2. And, Central cannot afford to stub their toe in this one, because right now they are the number 4 team in Region 5-5A. Oh, by the way, 4 teams go to the playoffs.
Yeah, they have to be on their P's and Q's. Fortunately for Columbia, their defense is so stout, and Franklin County has really struggled to produce points. They've been shut out already 3 times this year. You got to give your tip of the cap already to Columbia in this one, you think. But like you said, if somehow you do stub your toe in this one, this will be a season crushing loss in terms of maybe being on the outside looking in when the postseason rolls around.
No doubt. Independent steps out of Region 6-6A action, travels west to take on Williamson County rival Fairview. The Eagles 1-6 following that win down at Overton prior to fall break. Fairview comes in here at 4-3. Fairview, a Class 3A program, has had a lot of success, but they are a Class 3A program. Independence, a 6A program that has struggled this year, has traditionally had some success, but I just think from a numbers standpoint, this thing kind of tilts in favor of the visitors.
Yeah, this will be an interesting game. This is kind of like you said, the classic numbers game, right? And last year, Independence wins big, 31-7. We're talking about two different teams at this point. And Fairview has been up and down. Lost to East Hickman in week 1, but then reeled off a couple of wins.
Well, and I saw that loss to East Hickman in week 1, and I thought, wow, Fairview is struggling.
Right, everybody did.
But everybody's losing to East Hickman.
Yep, and a lot of people are losing to Richland, who also got the Yellow Jackets. So their only other loss is to Creekwood. So, I mean, Fairview's kind of been up and down in terms of just consistency. But this should be a fun ball game. And the interesting thing is there's no stakes. This is a non-region game, as you mentioned. If the coaches approach it competitively and don't really hold back in terms of keeping everybody fresh for the rest of the season, this could be a really fun one, I think.
I think it will be a fun one, absolutely. What else we got? The winner of this one stays out of the Region 6-6A cellar, as Overton, 2-5 overall, 0-3 in region play, travel south, taking on the Summit Spartans. Summit 1-6, 0-3. And again, Summit has just really been up against it with some injuries. They've struggled on the offensive side of the ball. Overton just fell to a winless Independence team prior to their fall break and their open date last week. And as you talk about psyches, I wonder where both of these teams sit right now. And whichever team can pull themselves together a little bit better will have an advantage in this one, I think.
Yeah, this is going to be an entertaining game, I think, but in a ugly fashion. Whoever kind of almost wants it or wills their way to victory, I think, will truly come out the victor. Summit, their offensive woes, as you mentioned, they scored 28 points in the opener, and they've only scored 14 the rest of the way. So they have not put up any sort of offensive firepower this year. But if you're up for it, this is the one game that maybe this is a chance to kind of sneak in a little momentum down the back half of the stretch. I will be fascinated to see how this one plays out. I do think it'll be ugly, but it could be very competitive.
Well, and here's the thing, quiet as it's kept, Summit gets a win here, gets a win in their season finale against Independence. They're in the playoffs.
I mean,
the Spartans still got something to play for.
You're right, and that could be something that really plays into this too. That's your pitch, right? If you're the coaching staff, is to try and get your guys up. Not only is this a winnable game, which I think everybody believes in that building it is, but yeah, if you win this one, you got a little mojo rolling, and you got Independence, which on paper is another very winnable game. So,
and I mean, that's a rivalry. I mean, that's the classic throw the records out the window, right?
Yep. This could be a wild season log to look at the end of the year, where you win your opener, and then maybe you win 2 out of your last 3 to sneak into the playoffs, as you mentioned.
If East Hickman Mount Pleasant is not the game of the week, then Summertown and Richland is. Now, this is a non-conference or non-region matchup, but the visiting Eagles coming in at 5-2, the host Raiders 6-1, and there's only one other game where the two teams have combined for 11 wins, and again, that is East Hickman and Mount Pleasant. So,
I think this one will be very fascinating, because I think Richland has been they've certainly been the more consistent. Their only loss is a really good loss to Lincoln County back to open the season. Talk about a big school versus small school, 1A and 5A there. Mm-hmm. They have reeled off 6 straight wins. Summertown seemingly, they got the good get-back victory versus Waverly. They kind of shook off the cobwebs from Mount Pleasant and Harpeth getting them. This will be a slobber knocker. And again, my question here is, how conservative, if at all, are either of these coaching staffs? I think the familiarity between the two programs will lend itself toward no conservatism, and I think we'll have a fun game Friday night.
I think this is going to be a fun game. Like as we've said on other occasions, regarding Richland and their opponents, I'm not sure that Summertown has seen an offense as explosive all over the field as Richland is. I think that's kind of the challenge for the Eagles, is being able to match up with Richland on the perimeter in particular.
I agree 100%. And if you're Summertown, this is one you gotta, not necessarily gotta get, but you want to get because, man, you close with Lewis County and East Hickman. So for as great of a start as Summertown had, they really kind of need to make sure they stay the course down these last couple of weeks. Talk about a final 3-game run into the postseason, maybe.
Absolutely. Loretto goes to Eagleville again in a non-region matchup, a battle of 2, 4, and 3 teams. Loretto feels like they are probably better than 4 and 3, but as Bill Belichick would tell you, you are what your record says you are.
Yep, and this is one on paper, making the trip over to Eagleville. Loretto has gotten in some wild games. They've won games. Won a game 61-44, lost a game 43-40. You got to think the coaching staff for Loretto, yeah, it's cool we're putting up all these points, but can we not have a good old-fashioned low-scoring game where we control things? I don't know that will be the case. I think this will be another high-scoring affair, and I think it'll be a fun one, again, in non-region play.
In region play, Lawrence County goes to Shelbyville, a big Region 5-5A matchup. If Lawrence County is to make the playoffs at this point, they got to win this one, and they got to have some help. The Wildcats 2-5 overall, 1-3 in region action. Shelbyville again coming off that big win against Spring Hill last week, 6-1 overall, 3-0 in region play.
Yeah, this is a tough draw for Lawrence County, but you got to go, and if you're going to get in, you have to the good news is kind of what is at stake, right? You know that you pretty much got to win this game, and you have to beat the big bad dog in the yard there, as it were, in Shelbyville to get it done. So if they can do that, they get Franklin County, which should be an easy win, you would think, on paper the next week. And then maybe all of a sudden they got a little shot at rejuvenation down the stretch. Should be a fun region showdown.
In Region 4-3A, Giles County travels to Unionville, taking on the Vikings of Community. The Bobcats 4-3 overall, 2-0 in region play. Community searching for their first victory, 0-7, 0-2.
Yeah, Community is really struggling. They were already kind of downtrodden over the last couple of years, but then they lost some key players as well due to graduation. So they are kind of scraping and clawing for anything. They've been shut out. Haven't been shut out but once this season, but they've scored less than 10 points in 4 of those 7 games. So they really got to find some answers offensively. And I don't know that anybody in that region wants a part of Giles County's defense right now, the way that they are playing.
Those are the games. When we come back on the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show, we will tell you who we think is going to win them. So stay tuned after this.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Welcome to JHA Company, your trusted scholastic partner. We continue to serve schools with yearbooks, letter jackets, and graduation regalia. But now we offer so much more. Our school photography division offers high-quality images that capture the spirit and energy of your students and staff. Let us help build your identity, creating a cohesive look that represents your school's values and traditions. Our e-commerce solutions make it easy for schools to manage and sell their branded apparel online. Let's work together to make every school year unforgettable. Visit our website or contact us today to learn more. JHA Company, celebrating achievements, building identities, and creating memories.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on
Welcome back into the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show presented by 10 Pin Alley, Eat, Play, Party, and by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We just told you who's playing who, where, when, because all these games are at 7 o'clock Friday night in Week 9. Let's tell you who we think is going to win them. First off, let's tell you how we have done to this point with our predictions, as the games that we last picked, Wade and I each went 9-1, and I think the spoiler was Loretto's loss to East Hickman for both of us. So, again, I'm 52-14. Wade is 48-13, pretty close to even. Wade typically does not pick Giles County's games because he is broadcasting them. So he doesn't want to catch heat from the Bobcat faithful. I can respect that.
Or the community faithful. I don't want that.
Or the community faithful.
And we're on the road Friday. The last thing you want is to be trapped in Unionville with some ticked off Vikings coming after
goodness.
you. So,
yeah, because there's only one way in and one way out.
I'll be abstaining yet again. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I did get to pick the Watertown game when I was out of town. So, and they first half looked okay. Second half I was a little nervous, but we snuck out the win.
They took care of you. Yeah. East Hickman at Mount Pleasant. Again, the Eagles leading Region 5 2A, 6-1 overall, undefeated in region play at 4-0. Mount Pleasant 5-2, 3-1. They've lost their last two outings, including a region loss to visiting Lewis County and a tough non-region loss up at Donaldson Christian. So it's been 3 weeks, counting fall break, since Mount Pleasant won a ball game.
And that is a long time to think about a team that was once dominant kind of between victories there. I'm picking East Hickman to win this game because I like what East Hickman, they proved me wrong versus Loretto. And also because, it has been so long for Mount Pleasant, and we saw the wheels kind of wobbling with them. If they win this game, I'll just have to eat some crow next week because I don't know that they get it right versus a really, really tough team that is rolling right now.
You know, they struggled against Harpeth in a 15-7, 15-8 win where they had to have a defensive touchdown in the second half to win it. They struggled against Summertown in a 19-13 overtime win. Then they lost those last two games. Offensively, they've got some concerns. And on the basis of that and what we've seen out of East Hickman, particularly of late, I'm taking East Hickman as well. Winless Franklin County at Columbia Central in Region 5 5A action. Again, Franklin County 0-7, 0-3 in region play. Central 4-3, 2-2. I think as long as Columbia Central just takes care of business, don't turn the ball over, don't give up big plays against a team that hasn't scored a whole lot of points and is sorely in need of confidence, don't give them any, and you get out of here with a win. I like the lines in this one.
Yep, give me Columbia Central as well for all those reasons you just mentioned. Franklin County's offense has been borderline putrid this year. Columbia Central's defense has been fantastic this year at times. That recipe alone lends me to a victory for Columbia Central. I'd like to see their offense get going maybe now down the stretch here, and this will be a chance to do so.
Absolutely. Independence travels to Fairview in non-region play. Again, Independence, a 6A program, Fairview, a 3A program. And I think, to me, that's where the difference lies in this one. Now, we saw Fairview lose as a 3A program to 1A Richland, earlier this year. But I just think that the numbers and, Independence had 10 ball carriers against Overton a couple of weeks ago. I just think that depth is going to be a big deal here at some point. And I like Independence against, traditionally a good Fairview team.
Yeah, this could be a quality win for Independence. I'm going to take Independence as well. For the numbers aspect that you referenced, but also because, they're 1-6, but they're not that far removed from some success. And so they kind of still have a little pep in their step. And I think that enough pep in their step will be enough to kind of put their foot on the Yellow Jackets a little bit. I think it could be a fun game, but I think Independence does survive.
Yeah. Overton in Region 6-6A action comes south to take on Summit. The Bobcats 2-5 overall, looking for their first win in region play. Summit 1-6 overall, has lost their last 6, including all 3 of their region contests. I think Summit rises up one time and gets this one at home against a Bobcat team that is also struggling. I think the Spartans may have one last gasp in them, and this may be it. I'm taking the Spartans at home.
I'm going to take Summit as well, and I could look silly because we just talked about how bad their offense has been and how little they have produced. Overton has been, I mean, their offense hasn't been great, but they've at least scored 20-plus on 2 different occasions. So I could look a little foolish here, but I'm with you. I'm going to go ahead and take the Spartans in this one because playing at home, and I like that rise up factor. I mean, this is a game that I think they feel internally they could and should win, and that factor alone, they'll be ready for this one, I think.
Potentially the game of the week. It's a non-region matchup, but Summertown travels to Richland. These two have been in the same region at various points. They've got some familiarity with each other. The Eagles coming in here at 5-2, Richland at 6-1. Said it in the last segment. I don't know that Summertown's defense has been challenged the way they will be Friday night. I'm taking Richland in this one.
Give me Richland as well because the offensive issues or offensive explosiveness we've talked about with Richland, but also Summertown, I'm just not as sold on them just yet. They've done some great things and they're 5-2, but I like what I've seen more out of Richland and playing at home. This will be a slobber knocker of all these non-region games. This could be the one that is the most, it'll feel like a region game, right? Mm-hmm. And for that factor, I think Richland playing at home will play a big effort. They haven't been home a lot this year, and the crowd will be behind them. Give me the Raiders in Linville Friday night.
Loretto goes to Eagleville, a matchup of 2, 4, and 3 teams. Call me crazy, but I like what Loretto has offensively. I mean, they lost a tough one their last time out. They've had an open date since then. I feel like they probably went back and regrouped a little bit, and I think they go on the road and get a good Eagleville team here. Give me the Mustangs.
I'm taking Loretto as well, but only for the fact that Eagleville has 4 wins, but they've won some games versus some really bad teams. Their 4 wins are Community, Collinwood, Huntland, and the Tennessee Heat. And that's the most recent one. So I feel confident in what Loretto brings to the table. I don't know that I feel quite as confident. Kind of like the Richland-Summertown matchup. 4-3 versus 4-3, but I'm taking the Mustangs in this one.
Here we go. Region 5-5A matchup as Lawrence County goes to Shelbyville. The Wildcats 2-5 overall, 1-3 in region play. Again, this is kind of a last stand situation for the Wildcats in terms of postseason viability. Shelbyville 6-1 overall, 3-0 in region play, coming off of a huge win at Battle Creek against Spring Hill last weekend. I just don't think Lawrence County has the firepower to stay on the field with Shelbyville in this one.
I got to take Shelbyville. I wish I could. I love Coach Marston and what he's done for a long, long time there at Lawrence County. It'd be cool if they made this a close game. And Shelbyville has been prone to, let some teams hang around over the years, but I don't think that happens Friday night. I'm taking Shelbyville to win this game.
Absolutely. Giles County, the Bobcats struggled some early, but seem to be hitting their stride behind their sophomore quarterback, Xavier Randolph. Coming into this road matchup, 4-3 overall, 2-0 in Region 4-3A action. They travel again to Unionville, taking on the Vikings of Community High School. The Vikings looking for their first win of the season, 0-7 overall, 0-2 in region play. Wade is abstaining from this one since he will be on the call. Tell everybody where they can see here right?
Yeah, audio only for good reason. I don't need to be on camera anymore than I
Got a
already am.
face for radio.
But Giles County will be broadcast on PulaskiCitizen.com. Click on the Pulaski Citizen Live button, or if you have the Mixler app, you can search PCL GCHS. And this is a game. It's been since this region was realigned in 21. It's been all Giles County, 57-8, 50-8, and last year 69-14. 2 years ago, though, at Community, they did give Giles County a little bit of a first quarter scare, but that was with a much more senior-laden roster then. Those seniors obviously are not there. This is a young Community team. They will struggle. Giles County should be able to name their score Friday night.
He's not predicting it. I am predicting it. I think Giles County takes care of business here for all the reasons he just mentioned. And again, this is a Giles County team that just kind of continues to evolve, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, with Xavier Randolph, with Kareem Bryant out at receiver, who has been with the team, has not been with the team, is back with the team, and has really been explosive for the Bobcats. And, you know, this might be another night where Caleb Oates goes to bed early.
I think so. Giles County would like to come out and basically mirror what they did versus Grundy County last week. They would like to get some different guys going. I got to give a shout out to David Bridges, who's a freshman running back for GCHS. He came in and got some big carries early in the game, but he also had a second half touchdown. They would probably like to incorporate him some more, and you certainly would think they would like to get Randolph going a little more. The region schedule, a lot of them are clunkers this year for Giles County, and they have been for a few years, but it's all building toward that finale, that championship bout versus Sequatchie County in 2 weeks. This will be a chance to kind of tinker and kind of fine-tune. In a way, Giles County still got to show up and play the game, of course, but this will be a way for them to kind of tinker and get ready for 2 really challenging games in the regular season.
Games like this are always kind of interesting because, again, you may want to look to get Caleb Oates off of his feet. You want to get every rep you can for Xavier Randolph.
Yes, correct. Yeah. And Crew Curry, the backup for Giles County, he did play in the second half, but not a lot. It's one of those deals. Their numbers are down. I mean, they're a 3A school with down numbers. They don't necessarily have a ton of depth at some of these positions. We saw some of the starters. They are the backups basically too. So we saw some of them still on the field at the end of the game last week. But yes, to your point, if Oates carries less than 15 times, that means Giles County has taken care of business. If Oates carries more than 15 times, they might still take care of business, but that means maybe he got off to a fast start. Giles County should, again, be able to get everything they want out of this game. Still got to show up and play it, though.
Without question, yeah. Spinning ahead just a little bit, once we get clear of this week, we are pretty much all region play the rest of the way. The only non-region game that I'm seeing, particularly out of the South Williamson and Maury County schools, Nolensville travels to Summit in week 10. But other than that, pretty much everybody on the slate is playing region matchups as we try to get playoff seedings addressed. So, I'm sorry. Columbia Central also goes to James Lawson in week 10 in a non-region matchup. But yeah, most of these teams are, trying to get themselves into the playoffs and get themselves ready for the playoffs. So starting this week, to steal a phrase from a certain collegiate conference, it just means more.
Just means more. We got some big games coming up down the stretch. Real quick, want to give a quick moment of silence, if you will. The Page Patriots, they're not in our coverage area, but we were away. They gave up a point.
They gave up points.
They gave up 6 points to Lawson. They did win the game, which is the most important thing. They're 7-0. And you said Nolensville. That reminded me. They will meet them in the regular season finale, presumably for that region title. So we had to just pay a quick tribute there.
Now, you said Lawson scored. What was the final score?
Was it 48-6? So yeah, dominating fashion.
From what I'm told, that score kind of upset them.
Yeah,
just a little bit. I think they got a couple of defensive touchdowns after that.
Some ticked off Patriots. So had to sneak that in there. It's been a fun stat we've been keeping up with all year. But the run is over for the Patriots.
Yeah, I hate that for them. That's going to do it for the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show for Week 9. go see some high school football, because I tell you, it's only going to get colder. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We are presented by the 10-Pin Alley Eat, Play, Party, and by the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk. We will see y'all right back here next Wednesday, 5 o'clock. Talk to you then.
This is the Southern Middle Tennessee High School Football Show with your hosts, Maurice Patton and Wade Neely. Proudly presented each week by our friends at the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Fans don't let fans drive drunk.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
Hello, I'm Rick Whitley.
And I'm Daniel Pollard from Jones and Lang Sporting Goods. We would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the many years of support. Since 1966, Jones and Lang has been locally owned and operated and supplying teams from T-ball to college. Stop by and see what we can do for you. We offer a wide variety of services from silk screening and embroidery to our custom trophy and awards department.
We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to noon. Remember, Jones and Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
He shoots.